Hey everybody, and welcome back. Alright, again, not much to tell you. See, it's getting into winter, so I don't do much. Speaking of winter, we still got some snow, not much, but it was 20 degrees this morning. What's that for the UK? About -6, -7. Was really cold last week. So anyway, we are going to press on here. I'll say a little bit of bronzing's annoying me. Might grind that out and redo it. One thing I wanted to mention, this is something that has happened over the years, so some of you will have heard me address this before and some of you won't. So I always get comments about things like, whoa, don't forget to tighten this bolt, and you've done so and so. This is not finished. This is the dry build to see where everything fits, to bolt weld brackets on and make things. Don't worry, everything gets done. So for instance, the ends of the swinging arms aren't filled in yet because it's minor, it's cosmetic, it'll be done at the end. Now, obviously I'm not going to paint it and then suddenly think of that. And things like this exhaust isn't quite finished. The important things are done, but anything actually on this I can still do, even after this is painted. For instance, I can put a little bit extension on here to stop it blowing against that, things like that. So don't worry about these little things. I haven't forgotten them. I go over the entire bike before we're finished, before I put paint on, and make sure everything is done. Alright, now then, the only thing to mention is at the end of this video there'll be, it's only a couple of minutes of extra video, because for some reason I had another little try to get the video I did on my phone of the Henderson Specialists workshop, which for some reason before it said it didn't recognise the format or whatever. But anyway, I couldn't understand that, so I tried it again, and sure enough I got it off the phone and into my computer that I do the videos on. So as I say, at the end, for those of you who keep asking about the Henderson eventually went off, the engine went off to a specialist, because it turns out that the man for doing Henderson engines in the whole of the US is a couple of hours away from here. And I'll tell the story again. All that stuff about getting the main bearings line bored, which was a real debacle, ended up being back at him, and when he looked at it he noticed a couple of other things. So I mentioned to Jim, who owns the engine and the race car it's going into, that the sensible thing to do was to have him do the engine. Otherwise, we could get the cases back with the line boring done and then find something else that has to go to him and so on. So we went up there, took all the bits. While I was there I had to walk around and did a little video. The first part of the video, in the front of his shop, he has a load of bikes, some that he's already done and others waiting to be done, so you'll see them. What you'll also notice, when I've swept around the bikes, there's a counter there and it's just covered in Henderson engines, crankcases and things like that. Not only that, but he had mentioned when we'd spoken to him that he had some spares, and I just assumed, like me, I've got lots of BSA stuff, used BSA stuff, but no, he actually has, like when he's looking through the stuff, he noticed a pair of gears that were together, machined as one. He looked at them and he said, oh, these are worn, look, and blah blah, and he walks away and comes back with a little cardboard box. When he opens it, there's a brand new set of gears. So he is having remanufactured virtually every part of that engine in better quality steel. He's getting pistons made. He looked at the pistons we got from a reputable piston maker and said, yeah, they'll work for like a couple of 100 miles. So anyway, that video is at the end of this one, so watch that, and I hope that answers all the questions for the people who keep asking what's happening with the Henderson. That's what's happening with it. Alright, so this week what I want to get done is bash plate for under here. prop stand, if we can use this one. Also got to look at the chain tensioner. Well, as I say, I've got to do a couple of measurements today and order that sprocket. And then the big job, we've got to look to making the alloy tank for this. So that means a lot of time that you won't see, because I've got to make the wooden form and decide how I'm going to do it, and then as you saw from the one I've made for the Otter, it takes a long time. Alright, just doing it a bit at a time. So let's get on and do some stuff. Right, well, let's start with this. Normally this the mounting bolts to the swinging arm. Fortunately, of course, the swinging arms, the alloy ones that are on the modern trials bikes that came off, are normally a roughly rectangular shape. They might be sort of shaped to lose weight, but they've got flat top and bottom, so that was nice. If we'd have been using a round tube here, it would have been harder. But anyway, I've put it on with a couple of clamps, and I've just got it taped. It's out here. It doesn't touch the footrest. It's not touching this, so I've just put it there so that it doesn't flop over. I'll keep hold of the bike because I don't know how good those clamps are. The tape's annoying me. Oh, now it's stuck to my fingers. Lower that. That, I don't know if I dare leave that. That looks to be a good angle. Let me rush over behind you and look from the end. Yeah, that's fine. That's a good angle. Now let's see how it folds up. I had it folded up to start with. If that's alright, we'll just mark where it is and I can bronze it on. That's steady. Yeah, let me just tighten the strap as well. Okay. That's no good, is it? I see that moved with the weight of the bike on it. Look, that clamp moved. Let me set this up so we can try it again. Right, let's try this. Move this round a little bit. This plate actually is more or less triangular, so although it's sticking out a bit here, it's annoying actually. If I'd known I was going to put that there, I wouldn't have put that little strengthening plate under there, because that would have done the job. It's catching on this, but that is much closer in there. But I think now we might be too far out there. But we shall see. No, that's pretty good. Yep, that's an ample lean angle. So, I think that will do us. What I'm going to do is mark this and put a couple of little spots on to hold it, so I can move this clamp and we can see what that's. I moved that up out of the way because I forgot to put the bolt through here. That bolt doesn't come out, so you've got to sort of put it through before you put it on. So it was down here, sticking out in the rope, in the way. I don't think it's got a nice little rubber thing on, but that isn't going to catch. It also has cast into it a tension just to stand the bike. See it all the time, people starting their bikes with it on the stand, either the centre stand, which, believe me, if you're up on the footrest on the centre stand, you kick start it and it rolls off the stand, you've got nowhere to go because your feet are up on the stand. And with a trials bike, you know, if you're standing on this and that breaks, bang, over you go. Stupid. Don't start bikes on the stand. Okay. Oh damn, I'll have to bring the welder back over here, won't I? Alright, let me do that, let me mark all this, and we'll put a couple of bits on. I might finagle this a little bit more, but that's what we're going to do, so hold on. Right, well there it is with a bit of bronze on both sides. I've got to tidy both sides up slightly a little bit. I can't take a lot off. As I say, it's triangular, but where I was going to take some off on the other side was actually close to where the spring mount is, so it'll all look fine when it's finished. Okay, so there it is, on with its spring. As I say, it doesn't hit anything there. Well, that saved us a lot of work using that. Looks snazzy as well. Alright, let's now have a look at this bash plate. Now the first little job we're going to do is take these front engine plates off, because I want to take that corner off. Obviously the bullet plates don't have that. The twins must. I'm still confused because I'm sure those plates, although the plates came from a guy with a bunch of Enfields, so they might have been off a twin. I just want to take that corner off, both sides identically, so that the bash plate will come up here in a curve. Right, so let me take all these bolts out. We'll take this off, bolt it together, and then I'll cut them together so that they're identical. Right there, I've done it. As you see, I didn't take much off. I've just literally made that corner into a curve. I was going to take a bit more off, but I decided against it. Hang on, I've just put the ruler down. As you can see, it's outside of that all the way. I'm going to make the plate a bit wider. Now, I've seen photographs of the factory bikes where this is where the oil filter goes, right? Pumps up here. You see both of them? Hang on. Hang on. The pumps are in here. The oil goes into the bottom of this, goes through the filter and goes to the pump. I'll see if I can find a photograph to show you. But they used to cut this off. You can't just cut it off because of the oil passageways. There's obviously a little bit more involved than just cutting that off and sort of welding a plate on. You've got to make sure that the oil can get from the oil tank here through into the pumps to get to there. Now, that would mean no oil filter, of course. But there are actually two screen filters in here. One underneath and one in here. So the oil gets filtered twice, and you know, again, as I say, it's a trials bike. And what's the cost of a couple of quarts of oil if every few hours you just dump the oil and change it? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. So how big we might make the bash plate come out a little bit, maybe slope it at the sides here just to protect that. I honestly don't really. Again, it's the difference in the way people ride. I watch so many videos of trials in the UK, and actually you'll notice it with the age of the riders. You'll see a rocky stream bed they're going through, and all the guys, if there's a rock, they'll go around it and they'll squeeze in between two rocks, whereas you see a younger guy come along and he'll go over it. So, you know, this sticking out a bit doesn't overly worry me. Anyway, gotta go and have a cheese sandwich now, so I'll see you shortly. Right, my stomach's rumbling, but I'm still not going to go for my cheese sandwich yet. Cheese and Branston pickle. Because I just wanted to show you something on this sticking out part. This sticks out basically 3.5 inches. Round the other side, even if I had the magneto on and the thin chain case, the chain case is 3.5 inches, and then to the joint, and then that sticks out. So this actually, with this chain case on, sticks out 5.25 inches. Again, not trying to squeeze it through things, it doesn't prove to be a problem. Alright, let me go and have some scran. Well, this is now tomorrow morning, because actually I didn't get anything done on the bike yesterday afternoon. I was fiddling around with this. Steam Shop and I and another chap got to go and see a machinist shop. It was an old chap, he died, and his daughter was trying to get rid of all this stuff. And apart from being a machinist, he was also a hoarder, and he did antiques. Although, to be honest, and no offence to our American viewers, but when I go to antique shops here, they're what we would call second-hand and tat. So his place was just amazing. Let's say he was a hoarder. You couldn't even walk round the machine shop part. There was so much stuff on the floor. There were shelves. Sorry. There were drawers which had been pulled out, were full of stuff, and then had stuff piled on top of them. So it was. So we went for a couple of days, and we helped the lady sort of tidy it up and what have you, so she could get an auctioneer in. And I got a couple of things which were one of those cases of, I didn't need them, but at the right price, I would quite like to have them. So one of them was a set of slip rollers, right, to make curves and rounds, whatever. This one actually will even do round stock. So I got that. And the other thing I got was a brace. God, see, it's the beginning of the morning. A sheet metal brake, except it turned out not to be a brake. I'll show you. Right then, so this is it. It's fastened to the bench, and it looks just like a brake. Flat fit here, this, so you turn it, that goes up. But then, when I sort of got it into the workshop yesterday and started looking at it, I've actually started to take it apart, I found a couple of rather strange things. One is the piece. Well, first of all, there's no way to raise and lower this. So I thought, well, how do you do different thicknesses of sheet into there? Then, where is it? What have I done with it? What have I done with it? Hold on. Right, that was one of those walk around the workshop, look for something for 10 minutes, and then find out that it was underneath this. So anyway, let's see. First thing I noticed was there was no way to raise this. Now this piece was actually bolted onto there. And when I took this off, it's actually a knife edge. So, but the real thing that made me think this isn't a press brake, let me bring you around this side and I'll show you. It's this thing. Now, you can, I was going to say you can see, but you can't see which way we're going to go. I'm going to swing you around slightly, hold on. Okay, there's an adjuster here. It actually screws into that, and it makes that slide in and out. So at first I thought that was the adjustment, but the thing about this is, if I can get it back out, these things are fixed, they're actually welded on. So you can't put a piece of sheet through there to do the bending. I have no idea what it is. It's made by S. Stowe and Company Manufacturing in Connecticut. It was patented in, I don't know, 18 something, the original patent. Oh, it has like rollers at each end. Again, you see this great big hinge? It has rollers at each end, which as you pull the arm up, this part here, because you can see it's hinged, comes up. It's almost like it's some sort of shear, but I still don't see how it works. So I was a bit miffed at that because see, I didn't pay a lot for it. Well, I paid $150, which was being as much as I would have gone to in an auction. But I've been looking at it, and I can make it a break, because this all comes apart. I'm going to grind these off so this part is nice and flat, and I can see, as I was saying, you could put well, you couldn't even put a piece of sheet through, because this thing is laid on there. See, you couldn't put it underneath because it doesn't lift up. I suppose you could put it over, but why does it move in towards the edge of that sort of knife edge? But what I'm thinking, as I say, is I'm going to grind these, take this off, grind these off so I can put this in here, right? And then this piece, see, this is the bit that's threaded. So what I'm going to do is the holes that are in here, although it's a big thick casting, it's not going to be easy to do. I'll either slot them, or I'll think of some way. I will plasma cut this off here so that it's a rounder edge, and I'll find some way that I can make this go up and down for different thicknesses of metal. But anyway, if anybody has an idea of what this is, I won't touch it for a week or so. And I say it's S. Stowe, S-T-O-W-E, and Company Manufacturing of somewhere in Connecticut. Hang on. It's very difficult to read. Plainville. Plainville, yeah, I think that's all it says, Plainville, Connecticut. Alright, let's go and do this sump plate. Right, now then, I'm having to do a lot of sitting and thinking here because I'm not exactly sure how to do this. But just for those of you who like to have everything right, that's not where the filter goes. This is the sort of filter I'm talking about. There's one there and there's one here. Alright, so that's just the drain plug for the oil tank. So I checked them, actually I had to put one in there so that I know how far down I want this to go. So thinking of taking it from about here, making up a couple of knee brackets to go on this through bolt. Of course it means I need a longer through bolt. So it's going to go from about there like that. Maybe not as long up there actually. See, we've got to clear this here, so we're going to have a sweep like that. I'm not sure how wide to make it either. You know, to protect both sides it'd have to be about 15 inches wide. This is 12 inches. I don't need to be, see, I don't need to come out here all that way. Thinking of smoothing it in and then coming out a little bit there and then back in. I don't know, as I say, I'm having to do a lot of thinking, so let me carry on with that. Now I've decided I'm going to mount it on this 3/8 bolt. So I've made this, right? this goes on there like that, and then that's going to go through there. Okay, so I'm going to just pop a couple of captive nuts on there so we can do it from here. Then we'll bolt that up on there tightly, and we'll see about cutting out a piece of alloy. Alright, let me get on my little chair here. Okay, I'll put some nuts on. Don't worry that this end and that end aren't the same. Don't forget it sticks out a bit more on the other side because of the chair case. So, come on, space in peace, go on here. I know you're supposed to be a close fit there. Sure it's all right around the other side. Oh, got this checked up. Got this checked up. There we go. All right, so let me tighten that up, and then we'll see about the piece of alloy. Okay, so I'm going to make this out of 3/16. First of all, I'm just going to cut the rough shape out, and then we'll do shaping at the top. But what I am going to do is I'm going to mill some slots in it. Alright, so cover your ears. I've got my earplugs in. Right, now the reason I've shown you that, and it was boring watching it, is because for a while when I first got the bandsaw set up, I thought, why doesn't my bandsaw cut like everybody else I watch? And I realised that 90% of the people you see using a bandsaw speed the video up. So I wanted you to see how sort of slowly it cuts. You watch them and they're whizzing round, and I thought, well, that's funny, mine seems to take forever. And then sort of other little things I noticed in the video, and I thought, wait a minute, that's speeded up. So anyway, let me cut the other bit. Thought before I went any further with this, I'd drill the holes and mount the plate to see what it looks like. Now, let's say it sticks out further on the other side, and as I haven't decided what I'm going to do about this filter, I was searching last night. I found a couple of very poor photographs of this, and actually in the Don Morley book there's a great photograph. Can I find my Don Morley book? No, I cannot. So anyway, I'll keep looking. But if I decide not to do the mod and keep that there, I can weld a little piece on here that'll come up. Can even put a couple of little gussets in it, just so that if anything bashes, it's there for that. Right, so that's pretty good. So as I said, what I'm going to do is just mill a few slots in. Not going to do a huge amount, just a few under here for when you wash the bike down and it goes through, because you don't want holes, or at least I don't think you want holes, sort of, you know, this big, because as you if you're sliding over something, you don't want, you know, if it's like a knobby log, you don't want one of the knobs to go in there and catch you. But a couple of slots will be fine. As I say, it just helps cleaning the when you're washing the bottom of the engine off. So let's go and set that up in the mill. So I'm just going to put 3 half-inch slots in, a couple of inches apart. This won't compromise the plate at all, and as I say, it's just underneath. It'll be fine for washing stuff out. Alright, so I've run this backwards and forwards along one of the black lines to make sure we're going straight, and you might see me keep poking my head in front of you, but of course what I should do, well I will do in fact, is when I've got this one where I want it, like that and like that, we'll zero our DRO, and let me check, I think these are 2 1/4 inches apart. Oh no, they're not. That's 2 5/8. And that's 2 3/4. Oh, I made a good job of that, didn't I? So how? They are 5 3/8. What's half of 5 3/8? 2 1/2. 2 11/16. So I'm going to move over. I'm going to move over 2 1/2. No, I'll move over 2 5/8. And then I'll move over that way 2 5/8 as well. Alright, so 5/8 is I'm wilting, it's close to the end of the day now. 5/8 is 0.625. So let's do this. Alright, I'm just getting some lubricant. WD-40 I use for alloy. Safety glasses, safety glasses. Right. I'm going to get in your way a little bit here. Take the lock off that. Okay. Hang on, not sure how far I've gone through there. Oh no, I've got loads of space. I thought I had. Right, let's wind it over 2 5/8. I'm just going to start this and then turn you off. Just so you can see we're in the right spot. Okay. So there's that done. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments about it, but I'm quite content. So we're going to put that up there. And this next bit is going to be a slow process. Because what I'm going to do now is mark it, and one of the reasons I've left it square is I'll mark it, I'll put this on so I can get to put a line across, and then we'll put it in the press, bend it there, and then mark it and bend it and bend it and bend it to get it around there. Okay, so I haven't got a marker, there's one. So at least having this type of back mount makes it a little easier. Right, so our first bend, I think I want to come behind from here first. I don't want it to start to bend until I'm past that. So as I say, we'll do that. Glad that goes in and out, it means things haven't warped and twisted. So the next thing to do is to put that on there like that. Because as I mentioned before, if you don't bend this straight now, then what happens is you get a bend from corner to corner. You'll fit it and this one end will be higher, side will be higher than the other. So let me go and put this in the press. So I've put it in there on its mark, and I've also checked it with a square. So I know everything is good. So all we're going to do is put a little bit in this and then take it back and try it and bring it back here, backwards and forwards, and then we're going to move along a little bit at a time so that we get the curve. I tell you what, this stuff is hard. I remember when I was doing the quarter, I couldn't actually do it, I had to score it. Okay, and because it's hard, I don't want to go over. So let's go over there and have a look at that. Right, so we're going to get a little bit more technical. As you can see, we need to go a good way there yet. So I was just looking at something else there, my mind just elsewhere. So I'm going to bend it it's going to be there. I'm going to bend it to there, and then start to get it to curl around there. Right, I'm back because the reason I suddenly stopped and I was looking there seemed to be a bigger gap, but when I pushed the bolt through I hadn't caught this, so it was hanging down. So let's, no wonder that was so strange. Actually, I think we might start putting it in a little before that. As I say, this is going to be slow and boring for you, so let me just keep working and I'll bring you back when I'm getting something close to the shape. Right, so there it is, it's bent as good as I can get it. I actually annealed this little bit. I don't know if it made that much difference, but suddenly struck me, why not try? So what I'm going to do now is mark this to just shape it a little bit. I'll put the chain case on the other side so that I can see how it all looks. Then I'll cut that. Then we've got to see about making some form of bracket for the front. So I've made a couple of little knee brackets, and they are going to go on there like thus. Now when I did this with the Otter, I got queries about, oh, why didn't you make through bolts and all the rest of it? Because I'm going to bolt these individually on the two sides. The bash plate gets bashed, it gets twisted, it gets bent, and believe me, if you've got to have long straight things going through mountains, you're going to be tearing your hair out. It's much easier if you do them as individual mounts. It might not be quite as strong, although I doubt that. But the thing is, it's a lot easier to get things to line back up or to redo a hole if something gets so bent out of shape. Alright, so now then, this is going to be easy. Of course, I can just mark that. But here, I'm going to have to measure. Oh, I hate having to measure and then drill holes. But they're never where they're supposed to be. But let me try. Well, I think I'm going to have a go and have a lay down, because you see the pencil marks? I measured from this side, transferred it to that side, I drilled it, and they lined up. I suppose there's a first for everything. Alright, that's that on there, good and solid. As I say, I can't fathom out exactly how the oil moves around here. I'm leaning towards trying that. But if I don't, I can always put a little piece on here. Not that I think it'd be particularly necessary. I say, I'm going to ride this bike. I don't do any big things anymore. I'm too old and it's too heavy. So, that is that done. And actually this week is Thanksgiving here. This is Wednesday. We're heading out to go to Linda's family for a couple of days, so this is going to have to be it. I do have the, hang on, I now have the 1/2 inch tube, so next week we will make these mudguard stairs, finish that off. We have, I'm going to have to move you again, here we go, just a little bit. I've got to put the mountings on here, cut a couple of alloy plates. I'm going to make a nice big head steady there. Probably drill a hole up here. I'll get the electronic ignition out, see what we've got to mount for that. And then the only other thing is the chain tensioner, and I've got the sprocket ordered, so, but of course everything will be slowed down because everyone's off for a couple of days for Thanksgiving. Alright, so that's it for this week, with the exception of the little bit of video that's coming up to show you this Henderson Specialists workshop. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy yourselves.
Well, it didn't look like much. No. Oh wow, look at this. Okay. Sorry, I rolled my ankle, fellas. I was missing a lot. Yeah, what that? Yeah, so this is a AJ graphic where somebody beat the shit out of it. Do that spins. This is a Henderson AJ graphic. You don't need it in a generator. It's probably a DU7. When you put an external regulator on, probably be safe.